Hi, Rebecca. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Instagram Live today. This is Laura from Adoratherapy, and I am joined by Rebecca Paris. That's the best last name ever.
Well, the good news is I went back to it because I was Rebecca Becker for about 26 years.
I
So
love that
I went
too.
back to my maiden name, which sounds a little bit better than Rebecca Becker. So,
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we all have different last names. My maiden name, I see Sophie's on here. Sophie and I went to high school in Paris, which is why I made the comment Paris, because of course, I love that last name. But my last name isn't really McCann. That's just one of my last names.
got it.
Well, it's great to be here. I thought before we started, because it's a busy Thursday. I know this is your first Instagram Live. We've been practicing at getting on. I think we did great, don't you think? It
Yeah.
was like seamless before we even started. And the last two times when we jumped on, it's like, no makeup, no hair. We were just like, and everybody joined really quickly. So that was really funny. But today
Yes.
we're really doing it. We're really going to spend an hour talking. And before we started, I just wanted to spray some Serene Room Boost. If you want to breathe with me, it's been a little bit of a hectic morning, a busy week so far. I don't know how you feel, but just to make sure we're here, we're together, a little breath. And if everybody who's joined wants to join us, pull out a chakra boost or a room boost or whatever aromatherapy you have, and let's do it. And then we're going to have a big breath.
Nice.
Ah, yeah. So, as you know, I'm all about the breath and
Mhm.
taking time to create breathtaking moments. So, I'm hoping our conversation today can be learning a little bit more about you and what you're up to in the world. For those of you who don't know, I met Rebecca in our store in Asheville, North Carolina, and she came in to do an aura reading. And as it would be, people who you're supposed to know and meet, you create rapport with and you connect with. And so she came back with her life partner, and we had a chance to meet again. And then we realized we both love to do sharing and caring and consciousness. And so from there, a collaboration has begun, which will culminate in a event that Rebecca's hosting in March, which will be a couple hours of Jim and I talking about auras and chakras and consciousness. And there's some fun stuff we'll tell you about at the end of this that you could receive if you join. But we also decided to feature Rebecca in our blog, and through that process have learned about her, and we want to share that with you today. So Rebecca, why don't you jump in, give everybody a little bit of background where you are today, what you're up to, how all of this is coming together, and why we're connecting.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I definitely felt that immediate connection with you when Will and I, my 20-year-old son and I were just kind of doing some Christmas shopping, and we're like, oh, let's go check out the Grove Arcade. And walk by and we just saw Jim at the table with the aura. And like, oh wow, we just immediately just got to do this. There was no question. So we found out that you get this whole 20-page report and you get your aura photo. And I've always wanted to do it and just hadn't had a chance. So Will was all over it too. So we sat and did the aura report, which is really informative, by the way. I know you guys, both the people on here, know what that's about. And I'm looking forward to the Raising the Vibe audience getting to understand just the cool technology that's available to really just show this beautiful aura, and what chakras are really more
Mm-hmm.
activated. And mine wasn't too surprising, but it's fascinating to see what's coming in and what's coming out, and where you're aligned and kind of the emotions around it. So I found that fascinating. And my son was just super jazzed up because we went in and we talked to him, and then I just felt like you saw him for who
Mm.
he was. And not many people do, because you saw on his chart that he's really high crown, like, 6 on the crown, 6 on the intuition. And, in this world, not many 20-year-old boys are really
Right.
in the cosmic realms and working on their spiritual awakening. So, he's kind of an unusual kid. So, but just the way you interact with him, he just felt seen, and
Yeah.
it just felt really special. And
I
then
had a
we
major
got to
like
get Robert in.
crush. Yeah, I had a crush, like, vibrationally, to meet a 20-year-old who was that I mean, basically being in his presence was a gift to me, and, you know, just the level of excitement, interest, and then he's so bright. It was just really great. I have a son as well, so I miss my kids. I don't see them a lot since COVID, and they're a little bit more grown up. So I got to rub energy with you and your son, and I love that. Take it when you can get it, right?
Yeah, that was awesome. So just felt that immediate connection. Then when Robert came back, it was, you know, kind of clear and how we interact together. We kind of complement each other with kind of our chakras, which is interesting to see because we're kind of partnered up here doing conscious awakening work. So that's kind of how we met you. And, you know, I've been trying to live with just intuition, and, you know, I just didn't allow things to pop in. And I was, well, let's figure out some programming for the year. I kind of actually took, we've been doing regular programming for several years, 3 years actually. And I took the last 4 or 5 months off of doing regular programming just because I felt like I needed to have raising the vibe in I guess the cosmic womb, so to speak, to just figure out what's up for raising the vibe next. It's a nonprofit. So just going back, it is a nonprofit global connection hub. And it was just done out of just my heart saying I need to do something in the world, and it just kind of showed up. It started as a book club 4 years ago, and, you know, when people said, "Oh, you should start a book club," and 2 other people said you should start a book club, a spiritual book club, I got the hint from the universe that I needed to do that.
Do that, yeah.
Yeah, and then we just, you know, read lots of different books like Power versus Force, Biology of Belief, you know, really kind of it's really the intersection between science and spirituality, which really was my way in, because I have a pretty logical mind, as you can see on my my little aura chart, but it really was a nice way in to use both sides of the brain, the right and the left. And so we did the book club for a year, and then I got the hit that it needed to be a nonprofit. So I just been living through inspiration. And I was in Atlanta for 26 years and, or actually more than that, probably 30 years, and just moved to the Asheville area just less than 2 years ago. So we had in-person meetings, Raising the Vibe meetings in Atlanta for a year and a half or so before COVID hit. And that just about the time I moved anyway. So the idea is to share something with people who, you know, to just open their lens of perspective. Stuff that they normally wouldn't come in contact with, maybe like chakras and aromatherapy and human design and the gene keys and whatever, just to open up the idea of what's possible and the realities in this world.
Yeah. So gosh, I have so many questions. So before, in your real life or many lives, what did you do? Like, what's your typical bend in terms of the work that you like to do and where you get drawn towards for creating value?
Yeah. Well, so I had a kind of a quick awakening, which was about 5 years ago. But before that, I was a marketing person. I was VP of marketing for United Way of Atlanta for a while, had kids, and then decided to become a portrait artist out of the blue. So just went down this whole artist path, and I guess I always had it in me, but I didn't realize I could do it, but then just stuck with it, and then took some lessons and actually made a whole business out of portraits for children.
Wow.
And pastel portraits.
Pastel. Wow. Okay. That's a
Yeah.
hard medium. Yeah.
And then moving into abstraction landscapes. And then with this awakening experience, which I kind of describe as having you're in a loop of your world, and all of a sudden there's an opening to look around and say, life isn't as I know it, because this couldn't be a coincidence. So I kind of thought, life was random and there was coincidences. And I had this opening to say, no, it isn't a coincidence. There must be a greater force that's organizing everything. So I asked myself the question, what are all religions and spirituality, what do they all have in common? And how does energy work between people? And so I just kind of did a deep dive on my own to just dive into that. And then I kind of put the art to the side, and just focused really on that. And then the nonprofit came out of that.
Came out of it. So a lot of people raise their consciousness and their vibration through something happening to them. Let's say it's more pain or fear driven. Some people get there through more of a awakening, like you described. Was yours an awakening that was sort of like just a continuation of an opening, or was something that happened that made you have to go sparked the awakening?
Well, there was an incident that was not a positive one. That was a coincidence that actually, I think black magic was involved, and it had to do with somebody in my family. And it's just like, wow, I didn't know this existed. And then it kind of, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then it opened the door to that, of like, what is this whole world? And then I just kept going, because I'm like, oh, well, this is why we're here. And then the biggest thing was, you've got a purpose. So after I had that opening, I'm like, okay, I need to understand this world. Then it's just like, I just kept getting the inner voice. You have a purpose. You have a purpose. Like, okay, what is that purpose? And so I just was driven to find my unique essence and my blueprint. And I found that through like the Gene Keys and human design a lot, to know who I am. So I can really fully step into my higher self and just do what I, came here to do on earth.
That's great. We have similar journeys, like I think there's a path where you're doing the work that you kind of fall into based on a skill set. At that time, I like to sometimes go back, I don't know if you do this, and layer on this new vision that I have, where everything is vibration and everything is something I attract, and somehow it's all divine and meant to be. To think of that now in my old life, when I think I was much more analytical, much more coming from a place of thinking I was controlling things, and it was going in a certain direction because I was taking the steps to go in the direction. And then when things would happen, I wasn't always sure why they were happening or what was causing them. So I think I have that in common with you, right? I think a lot of people do. I was doing a little bit of personal development work very young, because I did things like the Landmark Forum and LifeSpring, and things that had to do with sort of like understanding our belief systems, some Gestalt therapy, a lot of, like things that are around like, how am I accountable for my life? But I still went and led a life that had some new ideas, but I was still living my life like Laura on, control with my brain. So now I'm like you, I'm sort of like opening up to what came, and this is what came in, building a business that was more conscious. And then I'd say even when we opened the store, it was still a business for me. It was like selling products, and it just so happened to be something that I felt was healthier and more beneficial. And with the aura readings, and then my own path of pain to try to deal with my own pain and suffering to figure out like how to create the next thing that would be better, the consciousness piece just kind of opened up. And it was part of what I would call one of the missing pieces of a new mindset. I think everything is a belief. And so you can believe whatever you want to believe in at some level. There's no belief that isn't a belief. But in this version of my believing and having more of like a consciousness about vibration, and I love your name, raising the vibe, right? Like, how do I live in a higher vibration all the time? There's things that are happening that are more magical and more natural and more flowing than they ever have before. And that desire to control things is kind of not possible anymore. Like, I literally have to let go and see how it goes and be in the moment. And that was something that if you told me 30 years ago, this is where I'd be, I'd say, I don't think so. Or what is that?
Oh, 100% agree. Actually, one of the things I've gotten into recently is being a Gene Keys guide. And it's really a great tool brought in by Richard Rudd. It kind of stood on the shoulders of human design, if anybody is aware of that. And so I've been, looking at my Gene Keys, and in my attraction fear, the actual name of it, they have a shadow, a gift, and then the city, which is what descends upon you when, you are your full self, your full frequency essence. But the shadow of mine was control. So, speaking of control, I felt like I needed to do that. And in the I Ching, they call this hexagram biting through. And
biting, like teeth biting?
Literally biting through, because my jaw would be, in my Atlanta life, my jaw would be clenched at night because it's just holding back and wanting to control. And my whole journey really is about letting go of that tight control and allowing like the divine feminine and just the receiving aspect to really balance my life. And I think that's my main journey, is finding the balance between the masculine and the feminine, because I was overly masculine energy before, just to feel like I had to survive in the world. as many
Totally.
women are.
I think many women, that's a great conversation. On the aura reading, there's this part that's called the Yin Yang, and it's a chart and it shows your masculine and feminine energy. And so today I'm always very conscious when I'm speaking like that with gender, especially because it's like changing, right? There's this conversation about like there is no real gender. It's all, assigned, and then you are what you are. I try to differentiate. This isn't like gender that way, even though it's feminine and masculine. It's energy. And it's interesting that we don't have any other word to describe this feminine, masculine energy and what it is. But I can totally relate to you that as a woman, there has been a need for me to be in my masculine energy so much more than being able to enjoy my feminine energy, and finding ways to get back to that, and where it's actually affecting me in my body, because it's also not just like a general thing. Like there's definitely specific chakras where that feminine divine energy come into play, and then others that are doing other things. So we all have this balance. Interesting anecdotally, a lot of times we see men who get aura readings who in their yin yang color wheel is what they call it. So the feminine and the masculine, their masculine and feminine are aligned. So instead of having something pointing one way and pointing the other way on this chart with all the different chakras and colors, it's one place. And in this case, it's the heart. And when you meet men like that, you definitely feel a completely different vibration than other types of people. So a man who is heart-centered. And in the same way, you meet women who are heart-centered or women who are something else. And you start to realize that we're made up of different levels of and different aspects. It's not just like we're this blob, right? There's so many other aspects, and they're not all psychological and they're not all physical. And in many cases, they're, I guess I'd call them psycho-spiritual or vibrational. And like there is not a lot of language to explain that and what that is. What have you learned about this specific aspect of, I don't even know if I'd call it personality or energy, and what it's all about? How do we bring this vibration piece and consciousness of that into what we do?
Yeah, that's a big question. I mean, so much of it, I guess it's really kind of disengaging from the just the competitive win lose model for me.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing in the feminine is that whole collaborative piece. It's less hierarchical but more heterarchical, which is like the circular, everybody's working in unison. I think that's what's we're really striving for when we try to build the new way of working in this new earth that I think we're trying to evolve right now. So it's just allowing and it's looking at everybody's individual gifts and bringing that into like a synarchy versus everybody being funneled into the school system and having to be this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allowing the individual aspects to come out. But I was happy to see in my chart that my masculine and my feminine, my yin yang, were actually totally equal or in balance, which was good, because it probably wouldn't have been the case before I started doing all this work. But yeah, the giving and the receiving, and just allowing things to go in the flow, and knowing that there's a time for action and then there's a time to sit back and receive and wait and percolate. Because I think of the divine feminine as the womb where things just start growing, and the masculine is when they get pushed out into the world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, and I love that. But then at the same time, you can have a man, right, who's being feminine, and it doesn't mean that, they're feminine. It means that they're just more in touch with certain aspects of themselves. It could be heart or sacral. It could be third eye. I think of those as more of the feminine energy. And then certainly the masculine energy, we think of it as like the throat chakra, the root chakra. We think of it as the solar plexus. The truth is, it's not quite like that, right? It's sort of like a whole system where it's your aura energy field, which is, are you dominantly maybe analytical? Or are you dominantly social? Are you dominantly loving and heart-centered? Are you maybe more spiritual and crown and third eye? And then kind of adding on to that, kind of like a body with a skeleton, and then there's like flesh, and then there's a nervous system, and then there's skin, like we have all of it. And then adding on these aspects of ourselves where we vibrate clearer or more freely within certain of these types of energy. And then when they come together, though, it's almost like they're creating a whole other thing which is us. And we're all so unique and divine that nobody's really, really the same.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It's fascinating. I've had to, I think the best book I ever read on this subject is an author. I don't know if you've ever read it since you had a book club, David Data. He writes a lot about energy and yoga. And this is a book that was The Way of the Superior Man. And I remember reading it when I was in my first marriage. And part of my challenge was I felt like I was the male in everything. And I had surrendered some of the things about, being able to be the present mother because I was working, and I had to make certain choices to, do the things I needed to do to survive. And I felt like I didn't know how to get in touch with this other side. And this book really talked about alpha versus beta, but it wasn't specifically gender based. It was like who has the alpha role and who has the beta role.
Mm-hmm.
And that really gave me a lot to think about. At the time, I didn't really have language for it, but I do find that a lot of women are still trying to understand how to get in touch with this aspect of themselves that is more feminine, but they still have to be in some kind of a producing, controlling, directed lifestyle. And like, is that an incompatibility? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think so, because I know that my actual design is to be an alpha. I'm a manifester. I'm here to lead. I came in with that energy. So that's typically masculine, but it doesn't have to be. It's really how you do it. How do you lead? What's the essence of your leadership? Are you inclusive or are you dictatorial? I mean, the whole thing is about not being authoritarian, but being collaborative and nurturing the people there. But I'm still feel like my whole energy is about leadership.
Yeah.
I
agree.
But a different kind of alpha.
Yeah. It's hard to reconcile those aspects of yourself and then not and relanguage them so that you don't think of them as masculine traits, right? And I think that's a great disservice. I'm watching this new TV show, The Gilded Age. I don't know if you've seen it. It's the new HBO. It's like a historical piece, and it takes place at the beginning of the turn of the century. And you look at women in that time period and their roles in society, and there's not a huge role. Depending on your status, your role is to be in service to your family, your husband, your community. And, if you have any leadership desire or any personal power, it's used for certain things. But there's, you don't have that lane. And now I think we've obviously overcome that, but to such a point that we're in the lane of being, unique individual contributors, but at many cases it's at the expense of some fulfillment that is more caretaking to ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, for me that shows up. I don't know where it shows up for you. For me, it often shows up in my stomach and my sacral area, and having to really focus on nurturing my sacral. Yesterday, I had a fun day. We were in the new factory, which we just opened a new factory. So that's been exciting. And it's very much like get things done energy. So much more solar plexus. But we were going to do some videos with somebody for TikTok and have fun. And so we had somebody come in and we started to be very playful. And so we danced and we played and we made goofy videos. And there was a joy to it and like a fun side to it that isn't always present in my daily life. And I could definitely feel the difference. And interestingly enough, I had sprayed my creativity and put some on my belly. And I was asking for this energy to come in. And so that's kind of how, for me, I use our products, is sort of to remind me that this energy, all of it is available, and I can kind of customize my day to what is going on and have an intention for feeling more into a certain thing. I don't have to be one thing all the time.
Yeah.
How about you? I know you got a few of our products.
Yeah.
Do you use them? How do you use them?
Well, yeah, I brought this one with me. This is the Chakra Boost, the Clarity, because I really wanted to work on, not having so much emphasis on my analytical, because I go to the analytical. So I really, every morning, I have the intention that I open it up and then I put it on my hands here.
Yeah.
Sniff it, just like you told me. Sniff it. Put maybe some on my wrist.
Yeah.
Here. And then third eye, and just say, I choose to see clearly, open my pineal. I also have a tuning fork that Robert gave me for Christmas. That's
Ooh,
about the
cool. Let's
jingle
see that.
activator. It's like
Uh-huh.
a cool, I should have brought that with me here, but
Yeah.
it's like and it's just the sound and just holding it here. But I think having the intention and the habit every day, and it definitely, when you're feeling blue or you're just getting like a low moment, just, I have the room spray. So I have a couple of the room sprays. I have it at my desk. And so just before, or like I'm feeling a little low energy, I just spray it and I'm like, and then it just brings you back to your center and and you just get rid of all the kind of the mind garbage and just like,
Yeah.
breathe in, take a moment. It's like having a sip of tea kind of thing. So.
Yeah, totally. If I only had known years ago that these small little rituals would help me in my day-to-day life to sort of set the stage, and I didn't have to be in the mood that I was in. And then, there's just so many things that we do to wire our nervous system in a way that's actually hard to get control of it again, right? So I was dealing with a personal situation this week, and, I was sort of trying to understand, and you have a younger generation, your kids, and I don't know, so I'm a mom, so I'm just like thinking out loud, like what is going on with that generation? Because I tend to find that they speak a lot about having anxiety, like really intense acute anxiety, and it's anxiety that pushes them into feeling not how they want to feel and gets in the way of their contentment and fulfillment. And then trying to understand, what is that, right? Like, so I used to think of it as like, well, you just aren't willpowering it away. And now my belief is that I think they've been wired in a certain way. It's kind of like a radio station, and the dial has been set at this place that, with all the technology that they've been surrounded by and that they've grown up with, that they haven't really figured out how to tune into their vibration. So they're tuned into this other vibration, which is everything, media, the phones, and it has to be like static, like massive static, noise, chatter. And like they don't have any tools and don't know how to get back the control. So they have an adrenal response, anxiety response, when they have no tools to deal with it. And so, like, I don't know if you've noticed that, but this is something that I really would like to figure out how to help this generation to have more mastery of that, and what are the ways that we can help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I personally dealt with this with both of my children, and that's part of the reason I'm on the path that I am. I mean, my life was pretty good, and then I was, could have lived a whole total ego life if it weren't for my children coming in to just knock me down and say, "Hold on here, this is not the way we're going." They're both very, very sensitive. They came in here to do a different job in the world, which is to elevate consciousness, and it's hard living in the world we're living. It's so much static, and we're just trained to look at the outer world, and we've forgotten all about the inner world. And that's the key. And then the breath is, again, so important, to take that breath. And both my kids had to learn to just, hold off, it's really like take a pause and a breath. And that allows you to be the compassionate observer instead of being so in the mix. So it allows your higher executive functioning brain to take a minute. It's like, okay, we're okay here. We're not in imminent danger, because they don't realize that they're not in danger, because they're just on this path where they can't even think, they're in fight flight. So you just have to take that breath, pause, and then just have that consistent pause all the time when this is happening, just to break out of that panic loop.
Yeah.
And, I think aromatherapy can totally help in that situation too. I mean, meditation. My daughter's a yoga instructor, so she, because of her sensitivities, has really taken the path of being an energy healer, a yoga. She's trying to, all the stuff that she's learned, she's now actually teaching. She's 23. She lives in Black Mountain and teaches at Black Mountain Yoga. So if you're in the area,
hey. Great.
Kate, her name's Kate Becker. She might be, I don't know if she's watching this or not, but anyway, so she's really learned how to reset. And then exercise is so important for some people, because they have to really burn that energy out. It just gets all in there, and they've just have got to move their body. So just that exercise, there's so many ways to do it: meditation, exercise, taking the breath, taking the pause, being the compassionate observer. and then just having parents really who are awake to what is going on, and support their kids. And a lot of the anxiety comes when these young people are being pushed into this, what I call the matrix, that's not supportive of them. It's just kind of a system that this school, and you push into go into, get the best education you can and then go work at a corporation. And for so many of our young people, that is not their path.
Yeah.
They are here to be entrepreneurs, to bring in the light, to be energy healers, to be different things. And it causes so much stress if you're on the wrong path, and if your parents are pushing you on the wrong path. So I'd really like to speak to all the parents out there saying, really see your kid for who they are, and don't push them into being something you want them to be, or you think they have to be successful in society or make money. Because what I've really found is that they'll be successful if they're doing something that they're built to do. And everybody has a unique design, and they have kind of, like, I look at our DNA as having these antennae that's pulling in stuff from the morphophogenetic field, and their antenna can be really tuned into more analytics or more creativity or more physical fitness. But until they're pulling in the stuff that's actually fitting with their blueprint, that they're going to be miserable. So allow them to find themselves. So that would be my
absolutely. I mean, I still have a strong relationship with my mom. So when I talk to my mom, I still feel like, I don't know, whatever me feels like. I don't feel like an older person or a younger person. I just feel like me, whoever that is. So it's not an age, it's just me in relationship to this person who's a person I trust and is wise and that I love. And, we share many traits in common. And one of them is the creativity side, but we're also very actualized and very much go-getters. And as we then talk about my children, her grandchildren, I find that I'm like needing to, I'm finding all these areas where we're still not at the level I think we need to be at. Like, I thought I was at the level, and then I realized that there's all these aspects in my life where I'm not at the level. And like, in terms of guiding my children from a place that isn't all about what I've done, I don't really have that vocabulary. I'm very much about like, well, this is what I've done. This is my experience. I think that's a valid place to speak from. I've been taught that that's the only place to speak from, my experience. But my experience and their experience are very, very different. And in many ways, they don't want to have anything to do with my experience. So instead, I need to find a new way to connect with them, which is a supportive way. And it's probably vibrational, right? And it's to sort of understand who they are and to be more like a guide, a Sherpa, but only when they want it, right? Like I can't be like this, pushing them in any direction. It's not going to work. Right. I know that for me, I felt like I went in many directions that I was pushed in, and it took me a long time to rebel against that and to find that it wasn't my true way. But yeah, I feel like this is something that we do in all of our relationships. We forget that our energies combine with the person we're with, and that in some ways we give and take, and we may not really know what we're capable of if we're hovering or we're, taking responsibility for someone who needs to learn how to take responsibility for their own vibration, right?
Exactly. It's not healthy. And I actually fell into that trap big time. Things were so easy for me, and it'd be so much easier for me to do it for the kids than having them learn and having them fuss about it. So I'd end up just controlling their lives and doing things for them so much that it really, it affected me from my adrenal system. First of all, I went adrenal crazy, cortisol. I was just trying to, again, that gets back to the control. I want to control things to make it go smooth. I didn't have the tools. I didn't understand. And then I really made a big effort to start, okay, we're going to let you, because it's doing them a disservice too, because they're not they don't realize that they're capable. If I do everything for them, they just didn't feel capable that they could do it. Now they're very much independent, and I actually had to kind of cut ties a little bit with both of them. Just like, I can't do this for you. I can't hold this space for you, because it was like a codependent thing. And then I had to let that be for a minute. And then we came back in a better relationship, a more reciprocal, and like two independent people coming together in a nice harmony, with both of my children, instead of me being so codependent. But I couldn't take any more on, because they were, used to coming to me with any problem. They'd call me up. like, my daughter was in college, like she would be lost, couldn't find her class. She's calling me and I'm in Atlanta. She's in Maryland. I'm like, I really can't help you. But like the immediate response is to call mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can get the kids or people who are dependent on us to like, wait a minute, I'm just going to take a breath and I got this, because everybody can do it. And then I just got so used to doing it for them, they forgot that they could do it. So I learned that
totally, yeah, absolutely. I used to call that the dirty diaper syndrome. I explained this to them. It was like, it's like if I don't make you feel how dirty your diaper is, and you're not uncomfortable enough that you decide that you don't want to soil your diaper. And this is when they were like teenagers. It's like, well, then you're never going to learn how to use the bathroom. So like, I'm not cleaning your diapers. You're too old for this. You've got to figure it out. It is like, I tried to use visual ideas for them to understand what it's like. Let's talk about relationships. So you're in a relationship with someone, and they and you are consciously aligned, and you're building some things together around this. I know you went on a road trip and you have a website about this. Tell us about that part of your life. We're going to go from kids to men.
Yeah. So, I left what I would call a 26-year successful marriage. Awesome guy. We had a really good life, but I ended up taking a really, hard right or left, whatever it was, and on down the spiritual road, and realized that our paths weren't aligned. And we had a conscious uncoupling a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And that's really, not blaming anybody, but having a really, nice, easy one mediator type of divorce, and it was done. And it was lovely. But taking the leap then to say, I've got to move out of Atlanta. So I did that, and met Robert on Zoom. We knew each other from a platform that's no longer existed, that we are both on for conscious evolution. We both had programs on that. And then he joined a Raising the Vibe Zoom call, and, kind of looked over at me, and it like, as soon as you got to come visit, he kind of got it, I got it. But there was something that was at such a different level. It's like, we couldn't have put this together if we wanted to on this plane. It was, it was just a divine thing. And so I said, come visit me in Black Mountain, and he did. And then basically he was in Valparaiso, Indiana. So wow. He did this 10-hour drive, we met, and it just felt like, oh, I know you. It's just like coming home, like, welcome home, for the first time we met. And then the second time he came, like, which 2 or 3 weeks later, some intuitive readings that said, you're going to be moving really soon. Like, even at the end of the month, he's like, no way, I can't be moving at the end of the month. I have a daughter that's still in high school, she's a senior, still in high school. There's no way. Of course, he's very intuitive and psychic. So he follows his intuition, and he got the hit to bring the checkbook, and we ended up finding a house together.
Wow.
One day, within the month that we met in person.
Neat.
So
wow.
That is what we're talking about with allowing miracles and allowing the divine and the universe to do the work for you. That is the divine feminine in action, when you just you allow things to come in. And I just came to this area, and just my kids followed me, and I was just here doing my work, and then it just came in.
It all came in. Yeah.
We were supposed to be together, and it was like the love was there, and there was this compatibility, and it was also like, we're here to do this work together. We know that we have a purpose, and the purpose is together. Like, I don't feel like I could really step out like I'm doing without a supportive partner. And I think the same for Robert. So,
yeah,
he is together. We're doing some things. We created RebeccaandRobert.net. So check it out. I've got a lot of blogs. We went on a 5.5-week road trip because he got the intuition we should do it. I'm like, okay. So how many times in your life you're like, I'm just going to go. And that's just like living in this intuition and this spontaneity. And so we're really living that. We're really living this divine essence. Like, it's really 5D, 7D, that we're actually allowing things to come in and going for it, and knowing that it's kind of all good. And it was a beautiful road trip. And then we're back, and, he's doing some videos, and, we've done some videos together. One of the fun ones we did was a year ago, which is how to escape the matrix, how identities, stereotypes keep you trapped. So we just did this wonderful thing together, because that's so much of people's, getting back to the anxiety thing, is we're so attached to a role. Like, I'm a provider, I'm a mother, and whatever how that role is being defined by the media or by other people, we feel like we're not matching up because we've identified with that role. But we've got to take back the identification with these different things. Even with my identification with my Rebecca Paris, you know, I am that, but I'm really a spark of the divine here to create an experience life, and it's more infinite possibilities. When I get stuck into an attachment or a role or an identity, that's what keeps you trapped in some of these lower densities. So we did a video on that.
So how do you, I love everything you just said, and I've experienced it, so I know what you're talking about. How do you do that within the realm of a 9-to-5 job or a business, or the responsibilities that keep you kind of tethered to, you know, the thing that makes it all possible? So you have money, you have a home and all that, versus like, how do you balance that? Like, what is the thing you have to let go of to know that these two things can exist on the same plane, when it does still feel like there's something that wins out over the other thing?
Yeah. That, I mean, that's a huge, I think that is a huge challenge. And I really think it's like, it really, that just whole self-examination piece about what, you know, like, especially there's a lot of women who are, you know, stepping out into their greater selves. And a lot of them are inhibited because they're like, I'm in this marriage. I got to do it for the kids. I got to do it for my husband. I got to do it financially. And really, when you can let go of those limiting beliefs and know, and just have like this whole leap of faith a bit, when you're living your true essence, everything will come in place. And, you know, so you can't sometimes just jump out, you know, if you have young children, you know, you have to be really mindful about, well, I'm not just going to leave and just go follow my path. I've got to think about them too. So what I did was I realized that I needed to leave Atlanta and leave the marriage, but I waited until my youngest was out of high school. And as soon as he was out of high school, then I did it. And then, so it's timing is one thing for sure. And really examining, you know, why, you know, are you doing it for someone else? And if the answer is, if you're only doing it for someone else, then that's not the right answer, because that's not sustainable. Because you can never please everyone. The only person that you can really please is yourself. And you've got to be connected to your own source. And that, when you're connected fully, you're only then are you in a position to help anybody else.
So do you think
you're
people,
only in a marriage just to help, you know, because of somebody else, then that's not the right thing. And you need to rethink that.
So do you think that, I'm not going to say women, because I think men too, that like, if you go and do that, which I agree wholeheartedly with, being able to say that it's like the oxygen mask in a plane, right? Like, if I have to breathe, and then I can put a mask on you. So as a human, as a conscious person, I'm going to make choices. There's not a choice to leave anybody behind, but I'm choosing an aspect of me as more and most important, because then I can be all the things I need to be. And then being called narcissistic or selfish or whatever, do you think there's a stigma associated with living that way?
Only if you let it be, because that's what what I call the matrix wants to. I mean, I'll tell you about that. I wrote a whole.
And tell people where they can go. Where they can go and find this. What's the website for that one?
Well, it's just got done today, and it's called The Matrix Resurrections Unraveled. And so what this is the Matrix Resurrection movie is the latest Matrix movie. And so I watched that, and then I got inspired to, like, oh my gosh, there's so much disclosure and information about awakening in here. I'm just going to unravel this. And I spent the last month doing this. So it'll be on my website.
I can't wait.
But the website is raisingthevibe.org. So it's ing, raisingthevibe.org, nonprofit. And it will, and hopefully in the next couple of days, it'll be on RebeccaandRobert.net. And I'll just, you know, it's free. We just have to sign up with your email, and you can download it for free. It's 38 pages with a bunch of references, including follow me down the rabbit hole. So it's like all the resources about, you know, awakening. But part of that, kind of getting back to where we started, which is the selfishness. That's the biggest thing. But I don't know if you're familiar with this. Is Dr. David Hawkins' map of consciousness. And you'll see down here that shame, guilt, and fear are really low vibe things. And so
Yeah.
what happens if you're buying into the guilt that somebody's putting onto you, or feeling shameful that you're selfish, you're dropping down here. So
Mm-hmm.
you have got to be responsible to not allow that, not don't take that in, because that is not you. It's part of the system to keep you down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Totally
can't buy
agree.
into the guilt and the
Yeah.
shame. And
I
that's the
love it.
biggest thing people need to awaken to.
Yeah, no, I love it. And we have these conversations with ourselves, but we also have society that has these conversations with us, the media, all of it. And so, so what are some of the things you do in your daily life to keep the vibe as high? I didn't see the top color. Was it purple, pink?
Yeah.
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 And what are those two lines, the top ones? How do we stay
So
there?
yeah, so we've got, so above like 500, like 500 is love. So when you're in the blue and the purple, and
Mm-hmm.
then neutrality. So there are all these steps, and sometimes you're here and sometimes you're here. But how do we consistently raise our vibe? So one of the things, Robert and I, luckily we love doing this, some of these things together. We make a point to meditate every day, and we do it together. And a lot of times we're really into oraclegirl.org, and he's about the purification space. And it's really a group of people that come together that are really, she's an oracle. She speaks whatever comes out of her mouth. She calls herself a phase conjugate mirror, and she's got this group in the reboots, and we've been a part of the reboot for over a year. But she has these messages, twice a week or more, and it's really saying what's going on with people. But it's about getting rid of the slave self, and knowing that you don't have to be attuned to the society, the media, because it's toxic. How do you get back into here and become the infinite being that you are? So we regularly are part of oraclegirl.org. Check it out if you're interested. Do the meditations. I take the dog out for a walk. I got to get in nature. Try to, take him out
Mm-hmm.
every day on a long walk down. We're on top of a mountain. We have the beautiful view. We know that when we go into the city that we need to come back and just refresh, and having that balance between being around people and being home in our sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
That is key. And just knowing your own energy and just powering up. One of the things that Robert does every day is called a Be Still, and he's doing it on his Facebook. RobertNovak.com is his website, and his Facebook is Robert Novak. And he's got every day for 30 minutes from 11 to 12, Monday through Saturday. He leads a group about body energetics, and it's really about getting into your body, understanding the energetics, getting your spine aligned, strengthening things that are like weakening effects, like maybe family members that you're resonating that are weakening. So we're working together in his group every day to strengthen our field, and then allow dreaming and allow that dimensional self to come in. So we do that. He leads that every day. I'm on there, Monday through Saturday with him.
That's
So we
amazing.
have these really, habits that really help us continue to be who we are, and be able to be in the world,
Yeah. So you and Robert are a great inspiration and a great resource for all of us that are listening. And then we'll try to put some of these, we'll put all of your websites on the post so that people can go and find them and contact you, or go to your page. And on your Instagram page, I'm assuming you have like a link tree or something where there's links to all your sites, or we can figure out how to get them to your site. And then on
Yeah. So
there's everything.
Instagram, yeah, I don't, as you could probably tell I'm not huge onto Instagram. I know that's something I need to get more on. So I have not so much onto Instagram, but my link tree is Rebecca Paris and has everything.
Got it. So if they go to RebeccaParis.com, they're going to find all of this, and they
Our
can
link
see
tree /
Rebecca Paris. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
link tree /
Fantastic.
Rebecca Paris. And then again, Rebecca and Robert.net, and then raisingthevibe.org. And it will
It's
be able
all
to
there.
find me.
Fantastic. So let's tell everybody about the event that we're doing.
Yes.
Why don't you have the dates and everything. You wrote all the copy. So why don't you talk a little bit about it, and
Sure.
what the fun thing is that we're doing special for people who attend.
Yeah, so awesome. Thanks again for doing that. So both Laura and Jim are going to be Raising the Vibes guest on, I think it's Wednesday, March 16th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you sign up by March 9th, the Adoratherapy people are so generous to actually give you a chakra discovery kit. It's worth $45, but you can get it for free if you pay for shipping, which actually, if you show up for the event, the $10 for shipping will be reimbursed, or they'll have a gift card, or however you're going to do that.
Yeah.
But so that actually you can start using the sense when you're trying to figure out your own colors and aura. You'll have your packet in front of you with all the chakras, so you can, you know, as you're listening, start doing the, you know, the scenting, you know, scent and learning about it as they start talking about. So it's a great interactive option, and it's a great gift, and to learn about all these wonderful aromatherapy. And I think Jim's going to be talking about the biofeedback machine a little bit, the auras,
Yeah.
how it all works. So we just hope to have a fun, informative, interactive event. Just sign in, and again, you'll have the website links, but it's raising5.org under events, and you just register. It's free.
Perfect.
And you'll get a Zoom link, and you'll get the actually link for, once you sign up, you'll get the link and the promotion code to put in to get the free chakra discovery kit once you actually sign up. So please sign up while supplies last. Right?
While supplies last, yeah. So, you know, we've always wanted to do like a live event that people had the product and they could go through it with us. It's kind of hard to do it, and it's hard to make sure everybody has everything. So we recently created this new discovery kit. It's a great value because it's got all 7 of our small mini chakra boosts and these cute little affirmation cards. And so we will have you get that for free. You'll have to pay for shipping because the way the e-commerce websites is, you can't do free and free shipping. But if you attend and you get the gift, we're going to see, you're going to take attendance for us. And anybody who got a kit and attended will send you a gift card to reimburse you for the shipping. So it's a great way for us to play and have kind of like a talk, but also all the senses be engaged while we're having the conversation. And we're going to talk about auras. We're going to talk about chakras. We're going to talk about consciousness. We'll answer questions. And we're excited to kind of bring our tribe, which are, you know, people who are already excited about this. Maybe they've done their auras. Maybe they already know about their chakras. And your audience who's already raising their consciousness and been a part of your book club, and, you know, create more what I call spheres of community where there's an energetic awakening by bringing everybody together. You know, it's such a pity that people always think of marketing and all these things as, you know, marketing. And I guess the way I look at it is it's more like building energetic tribes and circles of influence and energy. And like you said, if just listening to you, some of the things that you gave me as tips and ideas, like Jim and I still watch the news every night, and I love to read the New York Times, but you know what? I don't really want to know any of this, and I'm not really, but there's like a part of me that's intellectually curious, and I like to know what's going on. And it's like a habit. And the truth is like, how much better would that time be spent if we meditated together, right? Or we did something else, and we're not, because that's our habit. And especially with COVID, like we've all gotten into these habits of like, what do you do because you can't go out, or you can't do this, or you can't be social. And so that's the first advice I'm going to take from that. And then I can't wait to read that PDF, because I saw the movie and I was kind of like, I don't know if I got it. Like I am trying to, but I want to know what you got for sure.
Yeah, it's full. If you're kind of aware of some of the esoteric things and just the awakening, the science around the awakening, it's full of disclosure.
Wow.
And again, the first thing I would do is stop watching all mainstream media. Mm-hmm. It's toxic. It's lies and propaganda as far as I'm concerned. And you are just put in that fear, that fear mode. And It's not helpful at all. It's not even true as far as I can tell. And it's actually puts you into this space that's just, not good for you. So it's really, you got to start, tuning in here about and pretty much, even though I haven't watched the news, like the mainstream news in 4 years.
Wow. Good for you.
Or what read
even with COVID. So do you get information from somewhere, and this is my new thing, is I realize there's a lot of things that gets pushed to me and I accept it, versus when I want to go get something and I go find it, and how much the push stuff is designed to take me away from what's more important, and how much discipline is involved in triaging it. It takes time. And I wish it was just that I never had to do it by not thinking I needed to respond to everything that comes in, and instead only go where I'm asking for it. How do you deal with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually write about that in my bio about like 4 years ago when I had this awakening, I said I pushed the unsubscribe button. And the unsubscribe button was all these emails that didn't resonate. And I'm really regular about, that's not really where I am right now. I'll unsubscribe from these emails. So I don't even have them in my space.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's just like really going, it's really me searching for what's really resonating with me now. And it's changed a lot, but you just have to be so like the curator of your frequencies. Because frequencies come in media, friends, food, everything. And so you have to be like, okay, how am I, like every day, what frequencies are coming in? And is this what I want, or somebody pushing this at me?
Yeah, exactly. I love that idea. I usually think of it like a radio and there's one dial, but now you've actually made me realize there's about 20 dials. It's much more like a soundboard where there's like a whole bunch of ones. And if you just think you're tuning into this one big one, you're missing that there's all this other stuff that's underlying. It's definitely there. So that's a really great visual for me to kind of reflect on, to improve sort of like how I can get some of that static out that's not helping. Yeah.
For sure. And part of it is really understanding that the media, they're owned by these billionaires and they have an agenda. And a lot of the agenda isn't your health and well-being. And you have to know what people, you just have to kind of intuit why are they saying this and who are they aligned with, and follow the money. When you follow the money, you see how the whole world works. And you know that your health and well-being and your financial health is not in they're into making their own money and greed and profit. And there's a whole lot of control.
Yeah, but I think it's like that with everything, right? Like just this week, I had to deal with something that was a little bit of an emergency, and I needed to go and see if I could help somebody with maybe finding some support. And, I went and I pushed on, let's call to get the support to find out what it is we need to know about how to support them. And before I knew it, I was in a sales funnel. And I was like, wait, what? This is supposed to be about helping somebody and giving them the care they need. And then all of a sudden now I have everybody trying to sell me like a really expensive thing that nobody needs, or that's really all about their agenda. And it just makes you realize there's a lot of that in everything. I like to also think about that for us, because we are a business and we do obviously want to promote what we do. But at this point, it's like, if I could do it for free, I'd be happy to do it for free, because it's that important. And it's not really about that. If it was about that, we'd all be like, really succeeding. Right now, we're doing what a lot of people do when we're light workers, which is we're doing a lot of giving back as part of our desire to create something to help people. It's not really like our goal to crush it or crush you or take anything, which is why we will give our time, give away products, spend time, because at the end, it's all just about energy and finding ways to be in the right energy with the right people. And sometimes you have to build your own platforms to do that, right? And give up the ones that are out there that everybody's asking you to join. So we're running out of time.
Raising the vibe was just out of my heart. I've made zero money for, and it wasn't a money maker. We have some members and things that actually help support, which anybody wants to join or donate, that'd be awesome. But I give my time 100% for free. And it's really about this connection hub for people coming together. And I know that I get it back by giving, and it just needed to happen. So I built it.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It's from the heart.
Yeah.
So we don't have any other agenda except to help you awaken and to find so when that's the kind of thing, when you find people that are doing things and you understand their intention is, holistic and has your best interest in mind versus, oh, what are they trying to sell me?
Yeah.
People are sneaky. I just signed up for a business, I moved Raising the Vibe to North Carolina. And so I had to, make it file with the Secretary of State and so forth. And I get this thing in the mail saying to get your certificate of existence, it's $82. But when you read the fine print, you realize that this is just a sales scam. You don't need this.
Oh,
and
it's an extra step.
on the North Carolina website that you don't need this certificate, but it looks like an official thing that you have to do. And it's just like, dang, it's just
we're
so
running
bad
out of time. We might get cut off. So that's the lesson for today is take control. Well, not take control, give up control to your divine calling. Find the aspect of you that is your greatest, highest vibration, and all things will come to you, including the fine print that you need to read so that you don't get screwed out of your
Yes.
hard-earned money. Right? Exactly. So thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been such a pleasure. Rebecca, she now can check off her first Instagram Live.
Yay.
And we are excited to have you at the event. There will be a Facebook event on our Facebook page, so you can find that info there. We're going to put this on there and put some links, and we hope to see you in March and have you join us for some breath work, consciousness, raising the vibe, and to be continued. We adore you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Same
Have
here.
a great day, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.